What if the very thing you call yourself, your name, your identity, your goals, your dreams began to dissolve? What if everything you believed made you started falling apart? Not through trauma or crisis, but through something deeper, something sacred. This is the experience of ego death, a painful, disorienting, and ultimately liberating aspect of the dark night of the soul. In this video, we'll dive deep into the nature of ego death, what it is, how it shows up, why it's so terrifying, and how it ultimately becomes the gateway to spiritual rebirth. You are not going crazy. You are being dismantled with purpose. Let's begin. 1. What is ego death? Ego death is not about physical death. It's the death of the false self, the mental construct we've built over a lifetime to define ourselves. This construct includes our roles: parent, professional, student. Our beliefs: I must succeed to be worthy. Nos, our masks: I'm fine. Mo, and our attachments titles: possessions, relationships. Ego death begins when these layers start to fall away, often triggered by spiritual awakening, trauma, grief, or deep inner work. You begin to question, who am I really? If I'm not any of these things, what remains when there is nothing left to cling to? This unraveling is deeply uncomfortable because the ego's job is to preserve the illusion of control and identity. Its dissolution feels like death, but in truth, it's a return to your essence. The ego is not inherently bad. In fact, it has served you. It helped you survive. But there comes a moment when the tools that once protected you become the very things that imprison you. That moment is the threshold of ego death. The moment you choose truth over comfort, surrender over control. 2 signs you're experiencing ego death. How do you know if you're going through ego death? It doesn't always look dramatic. Often, it's subtle, slow, and internal. Here are some signs: loss of interest in former passions. Things you once loved now feel empty or meaningless. Disillusionment with identity. You no longer resonate with who you thought you were. Emotional numbness or overwhelm. You feel either nothing or everything at once. Existential questioning. You ask deep questions like, why am I here? What's the point? Fear of losing control. You feel untethered, like the ground beneath you is gone. Deep fatigue. Not just physical tiredness, but soul-level exhaustion. Even sleep doesn't relieve it. Increased isolation. You may withdraw, not out of depression, but out of necessity to be alone with yourself. Intense dreams or visions. Symbolic dreams of death, transformation, fire, or falling can emerge. Loss of motivation. The goals that used to drive you now seem pointless or hollow. Moments of clarity. Amid the chaos, brief glimpses of peace, stillness, or awe can appear unpredictably, like rays of light through a storm. These experiences can be frightening if you don't understand them, but they are not signs of breakdown. They are signs of breakthrough, of the ego being stripped back to reveal the soul. 3. The battle between ego and soul. The ego resists death. It resists surrender. It fears becoming irrelevant. So when the soul starts to awaken and expand, the ego often fights back through fear, doubt, anxiety, confusion, or even spiritual bypassing. You may cling to old patterns out of safety, distract yourself with busyness, screens, or drama, judge yourself for struggling, trying to stay positive, resist meditation, stillness, or anything that opens the heart. This is the ego's last stand. The moment before breakthrough often feels like breakdown. This inner conflict may feel like a war. The old self pulling you back, the soul pulling you inward. You may feel split between wanting to let go, but not knowing how, desiring peace, yet craving control, seeking stillness, but But fearing silence, the more you try to force your way out, the tighter the ego clenches. But healing doesn't come through force. It comes through radical allowance. Let the fear speak. Let the grief move. Let the resistance show itself. Only then can it soften. The goal isn't to kill the ego. It's to free yourself from identification with it. To let the ego return to its proper place, not the driver of your life, but the passenger. 4. The grief of letting go. Letting go of who you thought you were brings grief. Not just sadness, but disorientation. Who am I now? What am I supposed to become? You may grieve your confidence, your certainty, the version of you who seemed so strong, even if performative, relationships that no longer resonate, dreams and goals that no longer excite you. And you may feel shame for grieving, as if you're doing healing wrong. You're not. This grief is sacred. It is the funeral of the false self. It deserves ritual, space, attention, cry, journal, rage, rest. There's no spiritual bypass here, just honesty. Grief is not a detour. It's the bridge. When you allow the grieving process, you allow the heart to stay open even in the unraveling. 5. The emergence of soul. After ego death comes not a new identity, but a new orientation. You begin to live from soul, not as something separate or dramatic, but as a quiet, steady awareness within. Soul is not loud, it whispers. Signs you are emerging into soul. You find beauty in the ordinary. You no longer rush to fix or change pain. You listen to it. You feel connected to something greater, even if you can't name it. You act from intuition, not performance. You choose depth over distraction and silence over noise. The soul does not want to dominate. It simply wants space. Ego death makes that space. You no longer chase a perfect life, you create a true one. Integrating ego after its death. So what happens to the ego after ego death? It doesn't vanish. It reintegrates. The ego, when humbled and aligned, becomes a helpful tool. It sets boundaries from love. It expresses your soul's gifts with confidence. It navigates the human world without dominance or fear. Integration means your ego and soul are no longer at war. They walk together. The ego becomes the voice that speaks for the soul, not over it. This is the quiet miracle of transformation, not a total disappearance of the self, but a reunion within. Ego death is not a punishment. It is a sacred passage. Yes, it will strip you of your masks, your attachments, your illusions, but what it leaves behind is truth. You will walk slower. You will love deeper. You will feel everything and yet be less afraid of feeling. You will remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Let the unraveling happen. Let the identity fall. Let the soul rise, because who you truly are was never lost. Thank you for walking this path. You are not alone.